Sometimes you need to slow down to speed up. Sometimes you need to take a pause. You need to take it easy. You need to take a step back from what you have been doing to say, well, what do I want? And does this still serve me? Is this still the life that I want to be building? Am I still building something that I'm happy with or not? And this is where a lot of entrepreneurs struggle, because we are very goal-oriented, right? Raise your hand if you're goal-oriented. Is that you? You've got goals. You want to go off and accomplish them. We're achievers, and achievers get their self-worth and self-value from hitting their goals and checking the things off their list to say, I did that, I accomplished that. When people ask me what my 10-year goal for myself is, I don't know. How are you supposed to know what you're going to look like in 10 years? Think about who you were 10 years ago. Do this as a quick exercise. Think of who you were 10 years ago. Who were you 10 years ago? What were your goals? What were your aspirations? What were your ambitions? What were your dreams? Could you with any certainty, with any degree of certainty, predict that you're going to be here 10 years later? If the you from 10 years ago was making a 10-year plan for yourself, is this where you would end up? Probably not. No, right? Not if you're growing, not if you're learning, not if you're improving, not if you're watching channels like this and you're investing into yourself. The idea that you would be here is crazy, because a lot of the stuff didn't exist, and because you've grown and learned yourself. And so there's nothing wrong with having plans. I think they're great. I think having goals speak to your ambitions, but you have to be willing to jump off course when it no longer serves you. The danger of having a 10-year goal for yourself is you're thinking small. Anybody who has 10-year goals for themselves are thinking small, because you have no idea what you're capable of in a 10-year window, and you have no idea how the world's going to change in the next 10 years. So if you could hit your 10-year goal, but it's tiny compared to what you could have done if you're a little more flexible, right? So you have to be willing to jump off your 10-year plan to go do something else because you're being called to it. And that's where slowing down really helps. Do you get great ideas in a shower? I get great ideas in the shower. Do you get great ideas on vacation? I get great ideas on vacation. Do you get great ideas walking through nature? One of my favorite things to do, walking through nature. When I walk through forests, just a quiet walk with the dogs, I get ideas. I get great ideas. I get great ideas on drives. I've started great businesses off of different drives. I started a business with Bo, who's an entrepreneur I invested into. Now it's a mid six-figure business because I was going on a hike through the forest, and then I was driving home, and it was about an hour and a half drive, and I was reflective. And for some reason, this is how it comes. This is why slowing down really matters. For some reason, I'm thinking about Bo in the car. I may not have thought about Bo for a couple months. Why am I thinking about Bo all of a sudden? All of a sudden, it just comes. I want to start a business with Bo. We're going to start an agency together where we book guests on people's shows. And now we've done that. He books some of the biggest guests in the world for my channel. He booked Mel Robbins, he booked Matthew McConaughey, he booked Deepak Chopra. He's booking all sorts of crazy guests for my channel, and he does it as a service for other people to book great guests for their shows too. And he's passionate about helping people launch their shows and get great conversations and build their brands and spread an amazing message out to the world. And so we started this business, and he quit his job, now has a mid six-figure business doing this, because I went for a walk and had a drive and then called him or sent him a message. And that's how a lot of the great things have happened to me in my life. A lot of the great ideas, the next ventures, the innovations and the breakthroughs come from slowing down. The overscheduled entrepreneur doesn't come up with great ideas. The overscheduled entrepreneur might be really efficient. If you jam-packed your calendar, you might be really, 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 really efficient, but you really reduce your effectiveness. And so life will go through these ebbs and flows, these ups and downs, and you'll have these moments where all you need to do is get work done. There's been many times where I don't need any new ideas right now. I just need to execute on what I've got in front of me. Many times. And so being efficient really, really, really matters. But when you then move to a place of, we see some friends. We move from a place of creativity, where it becomes about coming up with the next invention, the next new thing, the next place that you want to go, right? Then you have to be having chunks in your time, in your calendar, that you can allow yourself that freedom. So if I look at my day, my calendar, where I spend my time, I like having one day per week to be project day. So Wednesdays for me are project day, where I have the whole day to work on whatever projects I want to work on. And then Friday I call CEO day, where I get to work on the big picture things to grow my business. And one of my favorite things to do on Fridays when it's not too super freezing outside here in Canada is go for a walk to start the day. Go for a walk, clear my head. I've got the whole day ahead of me to be the CEO of my business, and I ask the question, what does that look like? What does being the CEO look like? What's the next version of Evan Carmichael? And I often come up with fantastic ideas. Not all the time, sometimes you just go for a walk and it was great to clear your head and you get some fresh air and that's all that came from it. And sometimes you get fantastic ideas because you took the time to slow down and have that in your calendar. So, a couple things. How do we start to execute and put this as part of our regular routine? Because what most people do is you wait for your life to break before you make a change. You wait for life to get so bad that something happens. Most people don't go on a diet and fix their health until they have a heart attack, right? Like you don't actually make a change until something breaks and forces you to change. But you don't have to hit rock bottom. You don't have to be in that negative a situation. You can be a little more proactive, and slowing down allows you to do it. So a couple steps. 1, put time in your calendar every week to have a little bit of reflection. Doesn't have to be a whole day like I do on Fridays, but a walk. Put a 20-minute walk, a half an hour walk. It's good anyway to get a little bit of cardio. It's good anyway to get outside and get some fresh air. But book in a half an hour walk once a week, at least somewhere in your calendar, where you're not just on your phone and you're not just stressing about what has to get done, but you have time to actually just be by yourself and watch suddenly as solutions come to you, right? So 1, put that 30-minute walk somewhere in your calendar once a week. 2, pay attention to where you don't love the things in your life anymore. Quite often there's things that we started with and we're energizing and enthusiastic about and we love doing and it was filling us up with energy and then slowly became a job. I think especially as entrepreneurs, we love starting things. We love the beginning of something, right? Is that you? Hands up. Is that you? You love starting something from scratch. You love building, but then we don't love maintaining. We don't love keeping it. We don't love the ongoing work with it, right? There's a lot of entrepreneurs. And so it's me too. And so at that point, when you stop loving as much of the day-to-day grind on it, you still love the idea of it. You still love doing the high-level work around it, but you don't love doing all of the itty-bitty stuff. You either have to let that thing go or you hire somebody to help you with it, right? It's either gotten to the point, for me, where I can now hire somebody because it's gotten to the point where it's monetizable and I'm making some money from it. Maybe not huge money, but enough to bring somebody on to help with it. Or I didn't, it failed, it's not making money, and I don't like it anymore, and so you have to drop it. And this is again where our 10-year goals let us down because we might be super excited by it. It's like, okay, in 10 years I'm gonna build this thing up. But the actual path needs to be actually 6 months in, you gotta jump off that and go do something else because you don't love it anymore. You didn't build it up big enough. So step 1 is do our 30-minute once a week walk, get some fresh air and some time for yourself. And then step 2 is think about what are some of the things, the areas in your life that you're not happy with anymore, that maybe used to bring you value, but not anymore. You don't love the process of it. And how do you start to offload it? Because part of coming up with new ideas and creativity is unloading the things that are filling up space in our head, in our calendar. And chances are there's lots of stuff that fills up space in here and space in your actual calendar that don't actually serve you anymore and maybe never did. And it's time to let them go. Either just drop them, slowly pass them on to somebody else, or hire somebody to help you with it. As you build and as you grow, you're gonna have to let go of things. There's a great example, a friend of mine who started his business, he has a hard time saying no to people. You know, is that you? I have a hard time saying no to people too. He's had a hard time saying no to people. And as his business built and grew and became more successful, the demands on his time became more and more pressing. And he had to choose, okay, where is my time going to be spent? And some of the people that he used to spend time with, or some of the organizations that he used to donate some of his time with, he couldn't do everything. So now it's time to reprioritize. And so inside of that, he said, well, where do I want to be spending my time and with whom? And he had to let some of those organizations go. It's sad, it's hard, but he had to let some people go and let some of the organizations go because it wasn't either the most effective use of his time, or two, the most fulfilling. Like, there's nothing wrong with doing volunteer work or helping people, but it's got to feel fulfilling to you. And we're constantly playing that game. Like, where you spend your time, with whom, on what projects, is the game for the rest of your life. You're just leveling up the size, the impact, the amount of care, the amount of good that you can create. And so, again, the overscheduled entrepreneur is not very creative, is not coming up with life-changing, life-breaking decisions. So step one is to schedule in that time, to get out there, do your walks, allow some freedom for new things to come to you. And then step two is doing that audit of your life, of where things no longer serve you, of where your 10-year plan has fallen apart and needs to be fixed, so you don't wait for life to completely break on you before you decide to make a proactive change forward.
If you want another Evan rant video that just might give you the confidence you need, check it out right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
Put your heart in your business and your head in your wallet. Your heart in your business, the business that you do, what you're running, has to feed you, has to feel purposeful, has to feel like you matter, you mean something, it's having an impact.